Hey, buddy.
What's up, man? How are you?
I'm great, man. I'm so excited to be doing this. Those of you that are listening and watching, hi, I'm Aaron Gall. This is my beautiful co-host, Gerrad Wise.
So beautiful. Hello.
Absolutely. And what this video is going to be about is the upcoming podcast, I Need Color, and how it came to be, and the song that we've made to introduce the podcast. Gerrad, anything to
Yeah, well, let's start out with um why the podcast exists, why you kind of pivoted because you've had a podcast in the past about martial arts.
Mhm.
Um so I think our listeners will be interested to know what this podcast is going to be about, what can they expect, and just what is its purpose, like why are you putting this content out in the world, like what do you want people to learn and grow from?
Yeah, so with I Need Color, there was, I want to say, over a year ago, the Martial Connection podcast that I had before. It was great, and I was having a lot of fun with it. But it was a very singular path that I was on with talking with only martial arts, and there's a lot of things I'm interested in. It's not
Sure.
just the martial arts realm.
Sure.
So I got really to thinking about more about what my life consists of. And, I've always loved all kinds of arts, whether it be fine arts, photography, martial arts. I mean, I love to do yoga. I love to hike. So it's a very colorful
Yeah.
aspect in my life. And so
Yeah.
that really fueled like what I was looking for. So when I started to really sit down and think about it, I really had it into my head where my brain was going, make it colorful, make it positive, make it work. What's the passions that you live, that you want to talk about, that you want to talk with other people about? So that's where the three pillars for this podcast came in. That is purpose,
Mm-hmm.
passion, and positivity. So I
Three
want
P's.
to absolutely. So I that's how I want to fuel everything. Is I want to talk with people and have single episodes where it's just me talking about how we can find our purpose, how we can use that to fuel our passions, and how we can use our passions and our purpose to fuel positivity and help structure the world a little bit better, a little bit more colorful.
Yeah.
Um, because unfortunately, over this last year, and everybody watching, everybody listening, has dealt with some kind of just shit
Yeah.
over the last year. I mean, you moved out to Colorado to focus on your music career, and then pandemic hit, and it's
Right.
like you can't play live shows. Like I can't imagine how hard that was for you.
Yeah, I mean, life has pretty much been on pause for an entire year. Obviously I've been doing other things and we've pivoted, but my main purpose and my main passion is to create and perform live music, and it like live music was the first to die, and a
Yeah.
bad choice of words, but it was it was the first to, you know, um, be wiped clean from all the events that were happening and whatnot. So um, yeah, it's been a tough year, and but I've learned a lot from it, and um, this music for the podcast came of it, and our I feel like our friendship has strengthened this year, and we've
Oh,
become closer.
absolutely.
So and now we're doing this. So
Yeah. um,
so
and no,
what can people expect from each of these episodes? Are you planning on having, like, what do you see your future guests, like, who are the future guests that you would like to have on your podcast?
the future guests and segments that I want to have on the podcast is I really want to focus on storytelling, and I want to talk to people from all walks of life, not celebrities or anything like that yet, because guess what? I'm not that famous. Um, Hope to be, but it's just a matter of I want to talk to everybody from all walks of life. I want to talk to people who are musicians, business people, artists, people that work in restaurants. I don't care where it comes from, but everybody's got their purpose that they live through in their life.
Yeah.
I want to hear what their passions are and what they are passionate to strive to.
Yeah.
And then I want to find out and talk to people about how we can positively move forward in a direction, and like just different kinds of advice about, world topics and the like.
Yeah.
Um, and on top of that, like I want to have every single episode where I have a small segment to start with that is a positive piece of news from around the world, something that people aren't hearing in the news media.
That's a great idea.
Because unfortunately we're so oversaturated with all kinds of shit that's going around. I want to add in that positivity and make things again more bright and colorful, because there's too much negative going around.
Yeah. So uplifting stories and
Yeah.
People talking about what they're passionate about and how they can align their purpose in life with their passion, and bring literal color into the world, because it's so gray right now. The world is so gray, and I feel like we're not united as one, as a country and as a entire world. When have you ever, never in our lives have you gone outside of your house and been disgusted by like being around other people, ooh, like stay away from me? Like that's never happened. And it's going to take a while for us to get back to what we knew as normal, where we approached people and we made friends with strangers and whatnot, and we talked to people like with not having this thing on our face. So it's going to take a while, and I think that this podcast is a good stepping stone for us to kind of put that content out in the world and spread the positivity for people to latch onto, and just brighten the day, because it's so gray out there. Yeah.
I mean, as corny as it might sound to people, like I want to bring literal color into people's lives. It just, I've seen so much shit in my life. I can't imagine some of the shit that everybody else has been through. That if I can use my voice to do some good, then I'm fulfilling my purpose. Because on a weekly basis, whenever I'm like teaching students on campus or talking to friends, like I constantly try to bring in little nuggets of the wisdom that I've gotten through my life, or I try to bring out the wisdom that they've had in theirs, and try to have a colorful conversation, like a conversation that really can transform somebody as deep as their soul.
Yeah.
And bring out the best of them, or them to bring out the best in me. Like we had a conversation Thursday where you called my shit out and was like, dude, you have more in you than this. And, 100% correct. But it's something I needed to hear. Like, I'm not Superman. I might have the chin for it, but it's, I love you. You're my brother. And I needed to hear that. Just like there's going to be days where you need to hear that. I mean, there was a time over the summer where you were going through your own little bit of gray.
Yeah. There was a lot of bit of gray.
And we had conversations on the phone, and then we started back up with our video game nights, and it's, and look at you now. I mean, you've got goals that you're crushing, and you signed up for your Spartan race.
Yeah.
So it's, we need those interactions and those conversations. And unfortunately, this past year, a lot of people haven't had the chance to do that.
Right. Yeah. Well, I mean, just like you and I are here for each other, maybe this podcast can be here for someone who doesn't have that in their life, and that we can help spread that positivity to them, and that motivation to align their passion and their purpose to, like, because that's literally when you're the most happy, is when you're fulfilling those things for yourself. And the interesting thing about it is that if you go around and ask, most people's like purpose in life involves other people. It's not a singular thing. It's
It's all
all about,
connections.
it's all connection. Yeah. It's all connection. And we're wired that way. Like we're people of tribes, you know. If you were by yourself, your survival rate was a lot lower than you were if you're with a tribe. And so we're wired to have that connection. And so this entire year, this entire past year, we spent time apart from our tribe, and it's caused a lot of mental health issues, because that's down to our limbic brain system. Like that's how we're wired. We're wired to be connected with our friends and our family, and you know, we were forced to separate from them. So yeah, I'm ready. I'm 2021. I'm ready to get back.
Yeah.
I know that things aren't going to be normal, or what we thought was normal. We're finding a new normal, but yeah, I think that we can really turn this year around, and you know, start the year on a positive note.
Yeah. You see how it's working? Purpose, passion, positivity.
Yeah.
Let's get into some of these bullet points.
All right, let's do it.
So
Let's get juicy.
yeah, let's get real juicy. First bullet point, and we'll both kind of talk through this
Sure.
as you listen. But what was the purpose of creating this piece? And I'll go ahead and start with this because
and
I
the
reached
piece
out to
is the introduction music. Yeah.
yeah. So I reached out to Gerrad because, you know, he's a phenomenal musician. The drink, my whiskey drink is coming through, so I'm getting a little lipsy. But I reached out to Gerrad.
It's Saturday night. We're okay.
Absolutely. Having fun.
Cheers.
Cheers, brother. But I reached out to Gerrad because he's a phenomenal musician. He's got his band Cryztal, and they absolutely crush it. If you haven't listened to them on Spotify, please do so. They've got a lot of great stuff. And I knew that he had a lot of projects he was working on with producing music as well, besides just playing. So I wanted to reach out and see what I could get him to do, because not only is he one of my best friends, but I have a lot of faith and respect for him. So I reached out to him and I said, hey, I've got this idea for podcast music. Are you interested? Do you have time to do this? And he said, sure. Can you send me some samples that as an idea of what you're looking for? And I told him that, you know, I wanted to go with a classical feel, but with a little modern twist. And Gerrad had never worked with classical music kind of stuff before. Yeah. So
I'm in the EDM realm, like heavy bass music. That's what we create.
So I chose 3 songs that were inspiring to me, that pumped me up to do things creatively and find my aspect of being colorful. So I sent him, what was it? What are you going to do when you're not busy saving the world, from Man of Steel, because one of my favorite movies. And then I sent him the epic fanfare Star Wars theme from episode 9. I know that a lot of people are mixed on episode 9, but the music was awesome. And then what was the third track?
I don't remember, but who's one of them? I remember it was Hans Zimmer as the composer.
Yeah, Hans Zimmer was the Man of Steel one.
I made a big deal about that because it's like it's Hans Zimmer. Come on, bro. You expect me to like be it on par with Hans? But yeah, I don't remember what the last one was, but I remember you like before we got to that point, you referenced actually the very first track that Cryztal ever released, which has like it has like a really nice piano chorded like intro, and like it really follows like that classical piano feel.
That was the third piece.
Was it the third piece?
Yeah, that was the third piece.
There you go. Yeah, were you finished with your thought?
Yeah, no, because like that third piece came into par because I had already heard it on Spotify, But then I got to come to Gerrad's last show in Ohio back in February of last year.
It was literally right before lockdown.
Yeah. And when they played On Fire during their show, I was busy with my Google Pixel going around taking pictures of Gerrad and everything. And they started to play it, and I got this one shot of Gerrad holding his drumstick up in the air and just kind of the light silhouetting his whole body and the music playing. And it was just so inspiring during that process that I couldn't stop playing the song afterwards. Like I had already liked the song beforehand, but then seeing you guys play it that night was like, holy shit. Like it took it to a whole new level for me because I saw the passion in play up close.
Yeah. Yeah. Awesome. Well, so the purpose of this is that you needed some music to introduce your podcast.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
that's the logical and literal sense of it. Yeah, I mean that pretty much, I feel like that covers that bullet point pretty well.
Yeah. Yeah. The second one was, what was the project? With the project, how was it brought to life? So, and with this one, I'll have you start because it started on your end.
Yeah. Well, so you sent me the inspiration. Of course, I was appalled because it was Hans Zimmer and some really famous composers, and it's basically movie scores. You sent me movie scores, which are like, those dudes spend years getting to that point, and
I believed in you every second of the way.
Theoretical geniuses and whatnot. So yeah, the process is I get the inspiration. So I get a feel for what you're looking for because I'm trying to match your expectations. And I didn't have a way to create orchestral sounds at the moment. I mean, I had some contact instruments and a couple plugins, but they weren't like super high quality. And so I started doing, I think I started on YouTube, and I was looking for tutorials on, orchestral arrangement and how to get started. Cause I literally needed to learn, how the band worked together and like the sections and the different instruments. And I had to educate myself on what that was like. So that way I could create something that sounded similar. And I stumbled on a YouTube video that basically was an advertisement for a certain plugin that is a BBC orchestra. It's like sampled recordings. And basically what you can do is use that plugin, and you can write in notes, and it plays the notes with whatever kind of instrument you need. And it was free. And the catch was it's Spitfire Audio for anyone that's interested. And I'm not endorsed by them, obviously, but it's a great plugin. And yeah. So it's like, I think it was like $100 if you wanted to buy it outright, but you could get it for free. But the catch was you had to wait, I think 2 weeks in order to get the download link. So you would sign up on the website, and then they would send you an email, and you literally had to wait 2 weeks in order to get this plugin. So I think what they were trying to do was create this like, oh yeah, sign up for free. And you kind of get excited. And then you're like, oh man, I really want this plugin. I'm just going to go ahead and buy it anyway. Well, I held out, and I got the download link 2 weeks later, but I had been doing research up until that point anyway, so I couldn't really create anything yet. So got the download link, downloaded the instrument, and got it all plugged into my software, and I started playing around, and I was blown away with the quality. I mean, it's BBC orchestra recording, so it's, it's good, but yeah, just the dynamics and the way the instruments are recorded just sounds phenomenal. It sounds like professional grade equipment. And we're talking like some of these plugins that you can buy are like $1,000 plus, that are professional orchestral, like composer, like the things that these like Hans Zimmer and these other composers that are creating movie scores. This is the type of software that they use, but I got the free version of it. So, but yeah, anyway, so I started playing around, and so that plugin that I got, none of this would be possible, or it wouldn't be possible without that plugin, because the plugin changed the game. Like it allowed me to get the cello and the basses and the the trumpets, and mix all of these sounds together to make it sound like a big orchestral arrangement, where I didn't have that ability to do that before. So plugin was key. That was number one. But to start the piece, I literally started it with 4 chords. The classic pop arrangement. I just played around with chords. I chose a key. I'm trying to think back of why so I chose A minor. I always write music in minor. You can even make minor keys sound happy, because there's plenty of major chords inside of minor keys. But
Absolutely.
usually minor keys just evoke more emotion for me. And that's more of my style of music anyway, is just really emotional and dark and driven and whatnot. So I can't remember why I chose A minor. Maybe because I liked the chord progression that I found, or like the root chord. Just a oh shit, I can't remember what the root chord is. Anyway, music theory. So so I started with chords, and then I don't want to get too technical, but it kind of evolved from there, where I just kind of created like an intro, and then I took the basis of the chords, and created a top line melody with trombone. And the trombone sounded really good in that, and I think it's it's multiple trombones. It's not just a singular one. So it's kind of like the trombone section.
Yeah, like a chorus.
Sure, yeah, and it sounded really good. So I made that the top line, and kind of created a little melody based on the chord structure, and thought to myself, like, well, Aaron plays the trombone, and so I emphasized it. I emphasized the fact that the top line was trombone, and then I finished out the first version of the song, and I sent it over to him, and I think I might have followed up with, hey, I think it would be a lot of fun if we recorded you doing this top line on the track. And I forgot about the words. So not only do we have the trombone, but we have there's like, and I'm sure you'll hear the song coming up pretty soon, but there's a 16 bar section where I wanted to have some type of vocal that was saying something positive, and then kind of ended with "I need color" before you have this big blow up of energy, which is called a fanfare, which I didn't know, but you educated me on that. In my world, it's called the drop, but
Drop the bass.
yeah, drop the bass. So you had these words leading up to this epic fanfare, where it's the highest energy of the track. And what did I do to do that? So I'm pretty good about going to YouTube. I always use YouTube. It's the shit.
Hey.
So I'm pretty good about sampling from YouTube, like vocals and stuff. And I do that in our I'll find old movies and like sample a little vocal section, and then put that into our like Crystal Grid songs. I'm pretty good about doing that. Like I've also used like Alan Watts, some of his recordings. Yeah. So that's pretty popular within electronic music. But anyway, I think I just searched "I need color," and one of the first things that popped up was Jim Carrey, in his documentary about him painting. And if you haven't seen that, I highly recommend that. It'll blow you away.
Absolutely.
But
phenomenal.
I can't remember exactly what that's called, but anyway, he
I'm pretty sure it was
is it I Need Color or
I
something
Needed
like
Color.
I Needed Color? Yeah.
Yeah.
So anyway, there's this quote that he's saying, um, and he's talking about his life and basically his why behind him painting. And at the very end of the quote, it says, "I needed color." So I kind of cut that up and put that within the song in that 16 bar section, and then ended it with "I need color," and then you have this big blow up, boom, big energy. And so anyway, I presented this to Aaron, and I said, "Look, um, I think it'd be really cool to have you record trombone on the fanfare, like do the top line, so we can have you integrated into it because it's your podcast, right? And then also have you record some kind of positive note, um, like your voice saying these pop like yeah, what other like I don't know what to say, like they're just positive words, positive notes,
Yeah.
right? And then end it with "I need color," and we can go into the fanfare. Um, and
So
I was actually getting ready to come home to Ohio. I live in Colorado, but I was getting ready to come home to Ohio for the month of December. So I was going to have the capability to actually record, like bring my equipment and record Aaron playing his trombone. And so that's what we did. Yeah.
now, mind you, he presents this to me, and I haven't played my trombone in over a year or more. So I'm like, shit, I got to get my chops ready in what, a week, 2 weeks. Um, so I started to play out some stuff, and he had sent me the first version of everything to start off with, and he had told me, what the notes were for the whole tones through each of the main fanfare, the beginning of the song, the end of the song. So I was sitting in my basement and I just playing around on my horn, trying to figure out how I wanted to incorporate some creativeness of me into the mix. And what we came up with was, man, something just absolutely freaking special. And it was already beautiful, like as it was, and as Gerrad had already presented itself. But I knew we could create something even better because of his faith in me. Like he didn't have to say, "Hey, I want to record you on the track," but he did because he saw something that could be brought to the table to bump it even harder. And so after I came up with my own little melody line on the top of the fanfare part after the words, then it was Gerrad came into town, and I showed up at his mom's house, and little room that he had upstairs, and he had everything set up ready to go. And we had a couple of technical issues to get through before we could start. The
Yeah.
cord that went to the mic didn't want
Yeah.
to work for us.
I brought one XLR cable and it just happened to be a pretty faulty one. So, but we made it work.
Yeah. And then we started immediately with a fanfare because there's a high part in the fanfare that I'm like, if I don't start with this fanfare, my chops are probably going to be dead before we even get the whole song done. And so we went through it and went over like a bunch of different takes, and then we started working on the other parts of the song, which are a little bit more soft and more like whole tones to give a live trombone feel to the great plugins that he had already had. And then during that process, we were trying to figure out how we could amplify some of the other parts, and there were some arpeggios that he had in there throughout the entire song that were just like beautiful. And so at the end of a couple of the different whole tone parts, we added me doing the arpeggio at the end just to kind of give it a little bit of crispness on the end.
Yep.
And after lots and lots of takes, a lunch break, coming back, doing lots and lots of more takes,
Yeah.
and then coming back to the high part in the fanfare after my chops were already dead, um, which actually worked out because we got a better high note out of it the second time around than we did the first time.
Yeah.
it really came into play. And then it was just wait until Gerrad could go home and work on putting everything together.
Yeah. Solidifying the mix. And
Yeah.
because it's, we were in um, my temporary bedroom at my mom's house. And it's like, I literally just had a pair of headphones, and that's not like, I need to be in my studio and what I know is my surroundings and my studio monitors and whatnot in order to finish the mix and make it sound solid. So, but
Well, and that was the other thing. Because you only had the pair of headphones, I had to wear the headphones so I could hear myself. So while I'm doing my playing through the microphone, Gerrad can't hear shit except
yeah,
for if he did the separate sound through his computer or something. But it's not that quality sound unless
yeah.
you have through the headphones.
I didn't bring a splitter with me, and so I couldn't listen to Aaron's recording except for what I could hear in the room. And so he would take the headphones off and hand them to me, and I'd throw the headphones on and listen back. And because there's it's really interesting when you record other people's instruments. Like I could never, well, I don't want to say never, but I can't play the trombone, right? But as a musician and as someone who's worked with music as long, worked with music enough, I know exactly what I'm looking for, and I can hear, whether or not a note was flat or sharp, um, or like if the timing is not quite right. So, um, and I'm also a Virgo, so I'm super analytical and very, very detail oriented. So all those
Although
details
Virgo.
matter to me. Yeah. Oh yeah, girl. So all those details matter to me. So I'm kind of a stickler. Like it's not going to be like, we're probably not going to get what we want within 10 takes,
Which
or
is a good
less.
thing.
So, and we hammered that out for probably a good 4 or 5 solid hours. And
Yeah.
I think we ended up with somewhere around 36 or 38 tracks of you recording over and over again.
Yeah.
But the beauty about that is, I can take certain parts of tracks, and then like maybe you nailed the first section, but you kind of missed a note on the last section. Like we can find a really good last section and then align it up with the first really good section, and then boom, you have a whole piece that's perfect. And so it's just taking the time to go back and listen and see what's working and what's not, and then piecing those parts together and finalizing that that stem, as it's called, like the vote or the instrument stem. So
Yeah. Well, then after you got back home and you started to work on it, I'm sure a couple of you saw the video I posted on Facebook about a month ago or a couple. Yeah, it's probably been about a month ago. And I was like, Gerrad, I'll get you the word sing, buddy. Love you.
yeah,
Um,
and then I called
he
you out again.
called me out again on the Facebook post, and then he sent me a text like a week later. I need those words, man.
Yeah,
So
I got shit to do. I need to get it done.
and it wasn't so much of that I didn't want to do the words. It was I was trying to find the right words. So, and I had wrote out like 8 different sections of words that I thought about using. And the first couple takes of the words that I had wrote down, I'm like, it was talking about, in a very gray world, part of this entire earth,
It's
we have to
very,
find it be colorful. And like,
yeah,
it doesn't have that positive vibe to it. It's like, it's kind of dry. So then when I found the ones that was like talking about the horns rising up, that you'll hear it in a second, um, it really fit not only the cadence of the song, but it fit how I want this podcast to really be about. And it's just about rising up to the occasion
mm-hmm.
and creating positive change in your life. So when I finally sat down and I ended up doing 7 recordings of the words, and I sent them to Gerrad and I was like, hey, I really like number 5. And he's like, well, no, I actually like number 3. So I'm like, okay, let me listen to it again and listen to it again. I'm like, fucking Virgo. Yeah, you're right. I like that one better.
Yeah, like I said, you just know what you know what you're looking for, what you're listening for,
Yeah.
and you know how it'll fit and how it flows with the cadence of the track. And I think the version that we got is solid, and I had to do minimal editing to it to make it sound good. So,
Well,
um,
and with one of the takes I sent them, I sounded like a Valley Girl because I sent it, and at the end, it's like, I need color. Like it was a
with
fucking
a question
question.
mark.
I'm
Yeah.
like, I don't know what the hell that take was, but I figured if maybe the first part of it could be used, and then we could scrub the last part and add it from another
Yeah.
one.
Well,
But
I
thankfully,
actually ended
we
up
had,
I used the entire like third recording. I just used it
yeah,
from front to back. I didn't have to plug and play or do any of that. Like I thought it was all really solid. So, um, but yeah, thanks for sending me that many versions and not just one, so I could actually pick the best one. So that was cool. That was a good idea.
yeah. I'm not a sniper when it comes to stuff like that. I like to put out multiple things. So that's why I was okay with doing 36 different tracks of trombone when we got
Yeah,
together.
well, I was pushing you pretty hard too. So
Yeah, but I
yeah,
needed it.
yeah,
I mean, the only way to get the best out of both of us. So,
yeah, yeah.
um, what passions did the project bring out of you?
Yeah. So me personally, um, I mean, music is, probably one of my number one passions in life. And so, um, I know when you came to me with this project, you wanted to pay me for my time.
Mhm.
And we actually had a pretty long phone conversation about that. And um, I didn't want to be paid, um, because normally that's a motivation for people to, accomplish something or do something for somebody else. It's like an equal exchange of energy, right? Um, but because we're best friends and we have this relationship, um, I didn't want to be paid because I knew that doing this for you would be a huge opportunity for growth for myself. Knowing what you wanted, asking you the questions about what you were trying to go after, and knowing that orchestral composition was something that I'd never done before, but always wanted to do. Like I love movie scores and orchestra, orchestral arrangements, and even like classical music. Like it's, if you're a musician, you always go back to the roots, right? And um, so I looked at this as an opportunity to grow and learn something that I've always wanted to learn, but it's kind of forcing me to do it. So that was my motivation. It was I have to get outside my comfort zone, because this isn't EDM. It's not, you're not going to play this in the club, but um
I
I mean,
I don't
you
know.
might,
I think it's pretty damn good, but I'm
but
biased.
but so it brought me outside my comfort zone, and it's the motivation um was completing this for you, for your podcast, making this the best piece of music that I could possibly create. Um, because not only am I giving it to you as like your product, but you're sharing it with the world, and it's going to have my name attached to it. So, so that was the whole reason. I mean, plus we're friends. Like, no, I'm not going to have you pay me. So, but I kind of looked at it outside of that, and so it was just a really big opportunity for growth, and I learned a lot about it, and um, like I said, I spent 2 whole weeks just researching on YouTube, um, finding out how these instruments are layered and what other movie score composers are doing to write their music. And um, I did a bunch of research on like just Spotify, and listening to like, I'm sure you've heard of Two Steps from Hell.
Yeah.
um, Listening to a bunch of their stuff, and creating a playlist of tracks that I thought might reach, or might be similar to what I was trying to create. Because that's what you do. You pull inspiration for your inspiration, and yeah, and so it was, and I had a lot of fun. I had so much fun.
Yeah.
It's just sitting down, and you sit down at your desk, and you start playing with things and tweaking things, and the next thing you know, it's been 4 or 5 hours, and you're like, man, I got to go to bed. Like, it's late. So yeah, it was. I feel like this project touched, you know, it was like a perfect passion project for me. Not only because you're my friend, and this is, you know, I want to see you succeed with your artistic endeavors, but it also brings mine together, and it also allowed me to finally get your ass on some music that we can both create, because I've been wanting to do that for years. So
Yeah.
it was, I feel like this reached the pinnacle of passion project. So what about you?
Well, and because of everything coming to fruition how it did, and I mean, when he got done with the whole project, and I listened to it for the first time, I bawled like a baby. I mean, it's to me, it is an extremely beautiful piece. It's and it, maybe it's because it's, you know, because Gerrad created it and I'm on the track. Like, it's probably a mixture of different things, but it invokes a feeling every single time that I listen to it, and it's not something that has stopped making me have those feelings of just pride and joy. And now, because we've worked on this project together, I'm now playing like 10 times more than I was before, because I not only want to get better for myself, back to where my chops used to be back in the day, but I want to work on further projects with you if that becomes a thing.
Yeah.
And then also, like, you know, we've had the discussion of maybe with each season of the podcast, we create a brand new intro song, which fucking A, that sounds phenomenal.
Yeah.
Um, but it's a matter of hearing, being able to hear an idea go from your head into play, into practice, and then actually be there as a tangible thing that's rested in your hands, being able to work with and use. It is such a freaking motivating thing.
Yeah. I,
Um,
I think it's important to note that um, Aaron had never recorded his trombone solo, and he actually had never been through that process of hearing himself play into a microphone, like with headphones on. Um,
no.
so so I was able, because you've been on stage what, hundreds of times, you
Oh
know,
yeah.
but you're on stage with, you know, 50 other musicians or however many it might be.
And
Um,
it's always stand-up mics that you don't have a headset or nothing on. It's just you got the whole band behind you playing. You step
right.
up to the mic in the front of the end of the room. Once your solo's done, you go back and sit down and keep playing the rest of the song, and that's it.
Yeah. So
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 like,
it's
I've
a,
heard myself on CDs of the whole band playing, but I've never been in the process where you put the headphones on, you're hearing yourself through the headphones only, and then you got somebody yelling at you because you're maybe off track a little
little
bit.
flat, Aaron, a little flat. It's all right though. But yeah, I think that I mean, that in itself sparks motivation and passion. Getting to hear yourself, because not only am I, like, I'm creating this music and this background track for you to play on, but you get to hear yourself play your solo on top of that entire piece.
Yeah,
And it's just you. It's not a band. Like, you created that top line melody, and then I took that and um, formulated the rest of the track around that top line melody that you gave me. So um, yeah, it's such a beautiful way to collaborate, and um, yeah, it just brings out the motivation for sure.
yeah. I mean, it's gonna seem like it's such a simple thing for being part of a podcast, and you know how it's going to be broke up to be used for the podcast is, you know, of course, going to be its own unique thing. But the full song as it is, like, there's a lot of heart poured into this, and so that's why it's so exciting to debut this tonight, um, because it's been something I've wanted to do for a long time, but I never knew the avenue to do it. And then I knew earlier last year that I wanted to do a project like this with you. If I was going to try to do another podcast,
Mm-hmm.
because the first podcast fizzled out, and I didn't care about it as much as I am putting my energy into this one. Like I've read 3 books already on podcasting because I'm excited for this one,
Yeah.
because it encompasses everything of what I'm wanting to be about and
Yeah.
how I want to move forward. So like those passions it's bringing out those passions in me. I'm reading more, I'm playing more, I'm more driven to, eat better and do nutrition and like all these different things because of the fact that things like this song, this podcast, making sure that I'm having the interactions with you and our other friends.
It has
That
a
are
trickle down effect. Like
absolutely,
it affects your entire life. So,
absolutely,
and it brings positivity and
yeah,
passion into everything that you do.
and
So,
purpose.
and purpose. Yeah.
Um, Last bullet point.
Yeah.
So, what positive future do you see after working on this project?
Yeah. Well, the positive future, we're already living it. Look at what we're doing right now. This is my first solo guest podcast appearance. So I've been on podcasts, but it's always been with my bandmate Cody, and so I kind of get to like hide behind, because he's really outgoing and so I'm more of like an introverted person. He's the extrovert, and so I get to kind of
bring that out of you.
I get to kind of hide behind like his veil sometimes, and so there's nowhere for me to hide now. I gotta, you ask me a question, I gotta answer it. So
unless you turn your lights off, then you're just sitting in the dark like,
yeah, and like oh, Aaron, I can't hear you. So, but anyway, I would love to do this more. Love to be a co-host on the podcast, and that always helps me grow as an introvert, like just being, embodying that extroverted persona. Creating content, I love creating content. I mean, I'm in a band, and that's pretty much what we do. We create art and we produce content for people to consume. And I know that sounds kind of like dry, but I mean, if you boil it down, that's pretty much what we do. It's like entertainment,
but
basically.
That's
it's
what's made
entertainment.
you.
Yeah.
It's what's made you successful. You guys
because
have been able.
Yeah, because we
Yeah.
understand that. But yeah, I think as far as the future goes, I would definitely love to create a new track each season for this podcast, and not only is that that's gonna help me grow as a music producer. It's gonna strengthen our bond. It's gonna allow you to think more like in a creative way for music. It's gonna keep you playing your horn, and because we have to one up ourselves every time.
Yeah,
You can't
absolutely.
create a lesser product. So
We're gonna be 5 seasons in, and I'm gonna be doing freaking 30-second notes all over the damn place, looking like I'm taking a lemon.
but I think that, like, if you look at what we're doing at a 30,000 foot view, we are literally helping each other with our passions in life.
Yeah.
In this process, like music is and being creative, and that art form is my purpose and my passion. And for you, it's sharing and teaching, and you're a hell of an artist. Like, you not only are you an artist with your body,
Thanks, man.
but you all different kinds of mediums. Like, your life is creativity. So you're getting to share all of these beautiful things with people, and we come together and create this art form in itself, and we get to share that with the rest of the world. And so that, like, that's so positive. It's so good. It's so uplifting. And it's important for people to hear these stories about people coming together and creating things, and creating art, because without art, we're just monkeys that are
Yeah,
trying to survive. Art is literally what separates us from the rest of the animal kingdom. So is the fact that
absolutely.
we can express ourselves in different ways. So what about you?
No, absolutely.
What are you thinking on the positive future?
Uh, I mean, there's so many things to list, but the first one that I definitely like agree with you on is I definitely want to have you on other episodes as a co-host, and where we can just kind of riff off of each other like we're doing tonight. Um, and we can answer people's questions, or we can talk about a book the both of us read, or like sky's the limit. But it's just like a co-host in that episode different times that we can really like bring out great conversation that hopefully inspires people to have those positive conversations with their friends and their family, to bring apart intellectual and positive change.
Yeah.
On top of that, I see a future of working together on different music projects in the future.
Yeah.
Having you help me out with maybe brand new um, face art for the podcast instead of doing stuff completely through my phone,
Yeah.
because I don't
Yeah.
have
For
Photoshop
sure.
and stuff. But I mean, it's not bad for what I did, but it's there's just so many positive creative avenues that we can go down that I see a lot of future possibility. And with the song being done now, and especially with how well things are going here tonight with my first interview, and yet, granted, I know that you're one of my best friends, and it
Yeah.
makes it a little bit easier.
Yeah.
But
For sure.
this is still going fantastic from being the first time I've ever interviewed somebody, and I'm looking forward to all the people that I can interact with in the future to get not only opinions that fit and connect with mine, but I want to hear opinions of things that don't connect with mine, to have those conversations that really matter, to give a variety of perspectives that is going to not be two people that are just bitching back and forth because
Right.
maybe they're different political parties, whatever.
I'm team red
But
and I'm your team blue kind of deal.
yeah,
Yeah.
I want to get it to where the conversations can happen and bring apart where it's not so much that you're meeting a middle ground, it's where you can still disagree about certain things but still come to love the person that's in front of you.
Sure.
Like we need to get back to that. So
Come
like
to a
I
mutual
see a
understanding,
lot, absolutely,
because
and I
everybody
see a
sees the
lot of
world differently.
positivity from that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
So
that
I mean
doesn't mean
that's
that we can't love each other, because
no,
we're all people, we're all connected. So,
yeah,
and we live our lives a different way, and we've instilled values in ourselves from our experiences that differ from other people. And um, it's important for us to understand that everybody is fighting their own battle. Everybody has their own struggles that they're dealing with, and that we have no idea what they're dealing with. And so, you know,
yeah,
uh, I read something in a actually Tools of Titans by Tim Ferriss, and he was interviewing someone, and I can't remember who exactly it was, but it was a female, and she said, I approach every stranger that I meet and I say in my head, I love you. And that immediately takes away this boundary of this person's like a stranger, and like I don't care about their thoughts and feelings and what's going on with them. And um I thought
gets rid of that
that was
wall.
gets rid of the wall and the stigma, and I really like that, and that's something that I'm trying to instill in my life, because I'm that way. I for the long time I said that I distrust and dislike being around a mass group of people, and except for like my close knit family. And
Yeah,
um so I'm trying to get better about that, because it on at to your point, it's being more understanding that everybody lives their life differently, and everyone's going through different struggles, and that you have no idea about. So
No, 100%. I mean, that's why, like over the last couple of years, I've been making it a habit of, telling you and, our close knit of guys that, I love you guys.
Yeah.
Because there's such a stigma, especially with men, where, you can't show your emotion. You got to be big brownie, beat the chest. Let's do this.
Yeah.
It's not the case. Like, we're never guaranteed tomorrow. So
Right.
like, I'm going to let you know that I love you today.
Yeah.
And it's fundamentally changed everything between like our relationship that I've got with other people. I am so much better of a person because I've been able to embrace the idea of loving people wholeheartedly, because love's what changes everything. It's what makes us create positive change. And as hippie as an idea that sounds to some people, it really is what can make the world a better place.
Yeah. Share more love. Love thy neighbor.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Some of you should probably love your neighbor a little bit less, but zing.
All right. Well, you want to introduce this song or what?
Hell yeah, man. So without further ado, are we gonna end this episode just with the song, you think?
I think we should, yeah.
I think
we've been going for like an hour or so.
Yeah. So with no further ado, again,
that was my drum roll.
I am Aaron Gall. I am going to be hosting the I Need Color podcast. It's going to be a weekly podcast. It's going to have 5 months of episodes with a 1-month buffer in between seasons. I'm going to have Gerrad as a co-host on, as long as I don't make my stuff fall down. I'm going to have Gerrad as a co-host on future episodes. I'm also going to be reaching out to people about interviewing them. I'm also going to have segments that are just going to be myself talking about either things that I've read, important topics in the world, and trying to bring you some positivity and bring out some more of the passions in your life. So I hope that you're ready for that. I hope to have you as a listener, and I'm super pumped to introduce I Need Color, created by Gerrad Wise and featuring me, Aaron Gall, on trombone. Here it is.
As the horns rise up, we begin a new day. One full of passion and positivity. It's in our choices of how we paint life.